All right, cool. All right, you guys. We are live again early this Saturday morning with Search for a Guru, Dynasty Samir, the Capitan Don. I have the beautiful brother,
What's
the
up, bro?
good brother, the
Hey.
awesome brother,
Saturday
Mr.
morning with
Let
Search
me
for
turn
a
this down. Is
Guru,
that
Dynasty Samir.
Sorry about that. I have my brother, Mr. Shawn Deangelo Walton, who I've known or gotten to know over the past couple of years since I've relocated back to Atlanta to the West End. This brother has been doing some positive work in the community. He's a pillar in the community. He's one of the few people that we see actually working in the community, for the people. One of the most selfless people
Oh man,
that I know. I mean, you are. You are. That's why I contribute to you. You know, because you are putting. I mean, you put yourself, everything to the side. You focus on the people first. You do. You do.
yeah.
I mean,
It's
Go ahead.
that's. Yeah, man. Like, I don't know. You just can't You can't just sit back, man. You know, on some of this thing. You know, on some of this stuff, and people may be at different points in their life or whatnot, or have a different type of faith, man. But you know, I think I have a rest assurance that, you know, my life will be okay. And it's not that I've been exposed to riches or a lot of money or anything like that, because I still live, you know, below poverty. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, but I have a blessed assurance that my life is going to be okay. And that's because I found this confidence in myself, a confidence in God, and the knowledge that, you know, assures that. And I want to just make sure that people have access to that. And a lot of times they don't get access to that understanding based on their environment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And the things that are in that environment. And it took me to have to change environments and, you know, playing baseball and traveling and stuff like that to know that there was more. And it's not that people need to travel so much more so out of their neighborhood. We just need to make their neighborhoods more beautiful, more safe, more community oriented. And we got the opportunity to do it, like, you know, with our culture. And that's what I'm really trying to push, man, is a culture of servitude, a culture of community. And I think we got that. You know what I'm saying? We have not only that, but we also have all the trinkets and amenities and HBCUs. Like we have a perfect gumbo over here. And, you know, and we just trying to serve the people, you know. So I praise God, man. Thank you for those kind words, bro.
Well, like I said, you're actually walking the talk. You're not just running your mouth and telling people how much you do and contribute to the community. You actually are a living example. And like I said, that's why, you know, I have the utmost respect for you. We might not agree on everything, but I don't agree on everything with anybody. But I'm mature enough to put the petty differences aside and still support brothers like you, because there's nobody really doing the work full time like you are. You know, I'm involved in different philanthropic, I guess, movements or ideas that I partake in, but I don't do it full time like you. And there definitely needs to be a platform or some type of way where we reward brothers like yourself who are doing this full time, but at the same time, you could still keep a high standard of life. Because there's this idea that if you're in the field or doing the work that you do, that you have to, you know, kind of live below poverty, kind of like you said you're doing. But I think that's not true. I think you should be rewarded. And
absolutely. And it's not even to live. And, you know, yeah, I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I live below poverty now, and I always have in my entire life. And yeah, it's a sacrifice, is what it is, man. You know, at this particular point in my life, you know, I'm a Morehouse man. I'm educated, still from these same communities and whatnot, you know, and single parent home. And, you know, we moved a lot because of, you know, we didn't have money, so we were displaced a lot. But at the same time, man, like, it's not me just trying to stay there, or me even encouraging people to stay there. Like later for that, man, later for struggling. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this is a sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? It's a sacrifice at this particular point, and because it's on my heart to do so. And again, I know I have that rest assurance from God. You know what I'm saying? Like Mark Cuban. I heard a story about Mark Cuban when he was like sleeping on his friends' like couches throughout his beginning of his career, man. And that's what I'm doing, man. I'm sacrificing to make sure that I can spend as much time filling my heart with the desires of what I feel God has put me here to do. And that's to make a better community for, you know, our youth. Because I went to school for education, you know what I'm saying? So I want to make a better community for our youth because I believe that they are our future. But also, you know, those are the most oppressed. Youth are the most oppressed beings on this earth. You see what I'm saying? And so when you make things better for what the Bible says, the least of these, you know, you make it better for everybody or whatnot. So making sure that our youth are safe assures that our parents are safe. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that our kids are educated, make sure that our adults are educated, but also, again, just focusing on some basic things when it comes to community. But my passion for youth and making sure that they're brought into a world. You got a son. Man, we got a son almost like the same height, same age. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to bring him up in something better than this, where it's all this shooting at the West End Park and failing schools, and we actively participate in that. And I praise God in that, man. Let's get that all day. You know? So, yeah.
Yeah, but so can you give us a little bit on tell us about your background? I know you're from Atlanta. Actually, you're a Morehouse man. Like, what made you get into? I know you started a program or a platform or organization called WeCycle.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Born and raised in Atlanta. We were born to a mom who was a single parent. There was 4 of us. I was the youngest. And I believe that when I was young, I had the benefit of learning from a lot, you know, my older brothers and sisters, whatever. But one thing that I learned really quickly was the sense of fairness. And because my older brothers were older than me and my sisters were older than me, I never got to go out and hang out and play with them a lot. And I would always say that that's not fair. And so I took that sense of fairness throughout my whole life, just questioning it a lot. I took that kind of like questioning of why aren't things fair into just a deep study in what's going on in the community. And I think it really hit home, you know, it really hit home first and foremost through hip hop. Like listening to Outkast, listening to Goody Mob, listening to the Dungeon Family, and just hearing what's going on in the streets, having cousins and stuff like that are drug dealers, moving from apartment to apartment or whatnot, just figuring out like what are these conditions about? You know what I'm saying? When I can look on TV and see so many other different things. And then I started playing baseball and I started traveling and I see so many different things, and I'm staying between like in white neighborhoods and black neighborhoods, because, you know, I've been adopted by these white families because I'm a great baseball player. You know what I'm saying? So I started to ask myself, like, why are there communities like this? Why they got this much money? And why do I come home upset because we ain't got no food? And a lot of my friends' situations is the same, and we over here in this black community. So that's concept of fairness. You know, I was thinking about a lot of those things, but it really didn't hit until, for me, when I got to Tri-Cities High School over in East Point. And like I said, I listened to Outkast a lot. And I used to live in East Point too. So like I take a lot of pride in Outkast being not only from East Point, and me, you know, going through East Point, during the time I got some hair on my chest. It was also a matter of like, you know, they went to my high school too. But when the Bush campaign, the first Bush campaign, when it was him and I believe, I think Al Gore, and the whole Florida, I'm in high school at the point, and that whole Florida stuff went together. Like that was the first time as a young man that I started to put together the nation's dis-ease or disinterest or distress with the distress that goes on in my life. And then I also looked at outside of like a home level and a community level. I saw on a nation level, like, yo, that's not fair. You know what I'm saying? This dude, like, they basically just came in here and took something really, really, really important that changed a lot of people's lives. And I put that together, and I was 15 at the time, and I joined the NAACP. And I did work in my first march in the NAACP was actually when I was 15, and it was to take the Confederate flag off of the state buildings in South Carolina. Can you believe that? That was 15 years ago, and it it only came to fruition about 2 years ago with Bree Newsom. You know what I'm saying? So that was crazy for me. I took that same stuff into my college years, beginning to do poetry. I landed in Morehouse College, you know, in a community, in a place, in a city that I'm familiar with, and I just wanted to do as much work there because Morehouse kind of just introduced me to so much brilliance. So much opportunity, and I saw for the first time like a whole bunch of black men in a setting that were willing to do work and be educated and go through a process. And that was so important for me because I had never seen any of that kind of stuff in my life. We had male teachers, we had just a whole bunch of male role models there or whatnot, and so I just wanted to continue to kind of take what I was learning from Morehouse in the community that I grew up in, because I never stayed on campus. I stayed in a house in Asheview Heights. I've always stayed in like on this one block. You know what I'm saying? I never got into like Morehouse politics or anything. I just did as much bringing people from Morehouse College into the community. Like, y'all, we have a perfect opportunity here to make change, to mentor kids, to build up the community outside of these HBCUs. Like, we have a jewel here, man. And that's why, you know, and this is another thing that just kind of drives my passion, man. Just like thinking about all the jewels that we have over here with everything going on in this nation, with all of the assets. Like, you got brothers like you are internationally known. You have brothers like me who are doing this grassroots work. You have all of these eager young students from the Atlanta University Center who are always trying to find out what can they be involved with after a march or whatnot. And it's our opportunity, and it's our job to provide them not only with something to do, but a place to also do it, and a community to feel safe where they can do that work. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? Or just make sure that they have people around them to make them feel safe for it. But, you know, just about me again, man, it's always been about, you know, fairness. It's always been about being on the ground, being a part of the community, experiencing like the hardships, knowing the hardships, and always wanted to bring people out of those hardships with a greater understanding of the community, how things works, economics, and also the type of culture. Again, I'm gonna always go back to culture, man, because like you said, you was talking about, like, you know, you got to be poor to be an activist. No, man, that's a benign culture. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. But we always have to recognize the crazy stuff about our culture, the beautiful things about our culture, continue to exuberate those brilliant things about our culture, and dead as much stuff that's just like not beneficial to our culture, but produce and promote greater habits, you know, through through clothing, through fashion, through art. And we can do that here, and we can do it with our resources. And yeah, that's my life. I want to put those things together, and I want to make that happen. And I want to inspire people to do it themselves and teach people to do it themselves. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
So I've met you through your organization called We Stank.
Yeah.
Which has made a great impact on the local community as far as the West End, Asheview Heights, Westview. Really the community of Atlanta altogether. What was the inspiration behind We Cycle? Because people wouldn't think that you can make an impact that you're making through bicycles.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, they don't think black people bike.
Right.
You know, so there's one thing, and the thing is, we bike just about more than anybody because we're most likely to not have cars. You know what I'm saying? And just try to figure out a way to, we're most likely to use public transportation. You know what I'm saying? So that's a misnomer. I started We Cycle Atlanta because I made a huge mistake in college. I bought with one of my next to last refund checks. I bought a car to get around with. You know what I'm saying? And I bought this Volvo. It was black. It was nice. It made me feel like a young adult. I was riding in it. You know what I mean? And what happened was when I bought it for 4 stacks, within 2.5 months, the transmission blew.
I know that feeling. I just went through it.
Yeah.
To fix the transmission is almost how much the car probably costs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, what? You know what I'm saying? And so I took the car back. The guy let me take the car back. He gave me like a fraction of my money, a small fraction of my money. And I had enough to do some things, and I had enough to buy a bicycle. Mm-hmm. And so I bought a bicycle, and at the time I was in East Atlanta, and I would ride. I got it from a place called Sopo, and I would ride back and forth to Morehouse College. I was an early childhood education major at Morehouse College at the time, and so I had to do my student teaching. And so I did my student teaching at Magnus Jones and a whole bunch of other places, but student teaching more specifically at Magnus Jones. And I realized that, man, I do not like the type of restrictive environment that you have to teach in, and knowing that these kids probably need a 360 degree, like 300 degree options of how they can handle a situation or a kid or whatnot. Because when it comes to classroom management or behavioral problems or whatever, stuff like that, like I always believe to not be able to teach with your hands tied, you know what I'm saying? And also to not be able to teach these kids more essential things that's going to help them when they leave these walls. And I never felt that I could actually teach kids, say to kids, interact with kids the way that I knew was going to actually help push them through the times of not in school. And so I took my last refund check and I made a smarter investment. I bought a whole bunch of bicycles.
Right.
I bought a whole bunch of bicycles. And I used those bicycles as community engagement tools to get youth interested in like basic mechanics and also community service. We were doing a garden at the time, and so we started having them create. We had them fix revamp the whole entire garden. We got them on bikes, and we just started riding and building relationships with kids. Now I've been in kids' lives for about 6 years now, and and it just the community started. Social media began to really pop out. So I was posting stuff and actually interacting with real neighbors. You know what I'm saying? These ain't people that are coming in from far to participate at the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, or whatever. These is like the kids on my block. You know what I'm saying? And so many people saw like how authentic it was, that when we had gotten our garden taken away from us, where we were doing a lot of our work, people aided us in raising money to, get a storefront in the West End, right across the street from the park, where we've just engaged more and more kids through cycling, through just mentorship, through field trips, through just a lot of variety of programs. So we don't even just do We Cycle Atlanta here. We do more agricultural programs here. We do writing workshops here. We do movie nights here. We just do a lot of stuff that kids may be interested in. And so that's We Cycle Atlanta in a nutshell. It started with me, making a decision that I'm going to bike instead of ride a car, that I'm going to, create my own free farming classroom instead of this restricted environment where I can't interact with the parents or the students. the way that I know that this community needs to be interacted with, like close knit, like it used to be back in the day, you know what I'm saying, before like segregation and all this other stuff, when your teachers and stuff like that stayed right next to you, you know what I'm saying? It was just more like a community. People that serviced you weren't aliens or anomalies, because these are the same people that you're going to see at the grocery store. These are the same people that you're going to see at the gas station. Same people that you're going to see walking on the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that's how we circle the standard. Like me wanted to do my own free-forming classroom and teach kids and engage them by just being active and there for them. So yeah, that's how We Cycle Atlanta started.
Cool, cool. So how did you go from We Cycle, or let me ask you this, but how did you incorporate Africa into We Cycle? Because I know you had the Bike into Africa campaign. I know you had the bamboo bikes that you're selling, that if you want to share with people who are watching, go watch. What was the inspiration behind that?
Yeah, we got to do the beat before the go bike to Africa. It was do the bike thing.
Okay.
You know, and again, these are African, West African patterns as well, man. Spike knew exactly what he was doing when he was, you know, doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's culture. You know, I told you I was gonna go back. It's culture, man, and identifying with yourself. That's again, when I talked about that blessed assurance, or that assurance in my life, it came from understanding who I am and where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? And how can I, again, you know, put the medicine in the applesauce, or make the culture, you know, not necessarily cool again, because it's always been cool or whatever, but make it just so into something ordinary that you're like, oh, that's fly. Oh, I do the bike thing. It's like do the right thing. Like, how can I infuse biking and Black culture and merge it together? You know what I'm saying? So not only are we riding just for our health, but we're also riding for identity. We're also riding for our culture. We're also riding, you know, through our communities to make sure that, you know, this is what we're building. You know what I'm saying? And so Go Bike to Africa was kind of like an extension of that, because, you know, we had built and recognized that this culture in the West End, you know, biking, you know, people in dashikis, and that Black people just bike in general. We had built the culture around, you know, our Black identity within our brand, but then we wanted to take it further because we're also just, you know, teaching more principles. We're teaching more principles, and some of this stuff doesn't make it to the website. You know what I'm saying? But we're teaching, like, do the bike thing was kind of like, you know, the local brand, the local culture, and Go Bike to Africa is more like the international culture. But it's also speaking to, like, yo, you have to act local and think global. You know what I'm saying? And so making that mind frame a part of our culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I'm always in the streets. I know that we can do a lot more than bureaucracy, a lot more than, you know, waiting on, the bureaucracy of the city of Atlanta, or waiting on the bureaucracy of the federal government. If we just go outside and do some shit, you know what I'm saying? And so thinking local, but also putting people in the mind frame, like, even when it comes to, again, being poor. No, man, like, this whole world is a market. You know what I'm saying? Like, sell some American bikes here and then go to Ghana and go, you know, sell some bamboo bikes. Like, the world is changing because of people like us, social entrepreneurs. And yeah, we're visionaries, but we're also business people too. But what it is that we're doing is we're taking high risk and really doing the market research for new forms of economies. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why we're so valuable, and that's the more type of culture that I'm still trying to push. It's just that we are economic drivers in our localities, where we can be economic drivers internationally, and we can do that from this little bitty old hood that's right here, with the shea butter, with the incense, with the clothing. Like, we can do it, and we shouldn't just restrict ourselves from these blocks, these corners, these districts. You know what I'm saying? Like we so much more than that. And I just want to show like you can even do that from here, from where you are, from a little black boy perspective. Like I want you to get that. I want you to see that. I want you to have that. I want you to wear that. I want that to be a part of your mind frame. I want that to be a part of your culture.
So I remember last year, I said, Shawn, you need to run for mayor. And he said, you know what, I'll think about it. So now you're running for Atlanta City Council District 4.
Yeah.
What made you want to go ahead and get into politics? And answer that first. Then my next question will be, sometimes I see politicians who started off active in the community, once they become a politician, they somewhat forget the community.
Oh.
How do you balance not forgetting the community and still being involved in politics, or not really being for the people like you were when you're in your role as far as community activist, and balancing that with being a politician? But go ahead.
I got politics. The definition that I accept for politics is determining who gets what.
Okay.
All right. And so politicians are go-getters.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I gotta bring stuff back. But I see people that don't have a lot, and I see people that everything's taken away from, well, not even as things are taken away from them constantly, but they don't even have access to some things, you know? And that all has to do with who gets what, or politics. And for as much as I've experienced as one of those people who is on the spectrum of, you know, haves and the have-nots, or the have-nots, even in doing this work, I realized that there is no way that I can truly put a dent in what these motherfuckers is doing,
Right.
unless we take power and legislation. You know what I'm saying? Home ownership. Business ownership, economics, and we have to surround the problem that we're facing. We can't face off with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have to surround it with every tool that we need to defeat it. I talk about Malcolm a lot, and I think it's very important for us to study. I think we're the most studied generation ever, and I think it's also you know, good for us to be critical of everything of the past. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm is probably someone who changed my life, and one of his famed phrases is, you know, by any means necessary. But I don't believe in that anymore. I believe it should be every means necessary. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to use multiple approaches at the same time, either running parallel or converging. It's not a left foot, right foot. You do this, I do this. No, you have to do things at the same time. You have to overwhelm. You have to overwhelm systems to implode them or explode them. You know what I'm saying? And so the reason why I got into politics is not that I'm trying to implode or explode the government or shit like that, but I think it's more people that are on the ground, social entrepreneurs that are farming these new markets, who are not necessarily getting the support that they need. And I believe that the people who are denied access to education and financial opportunities, I believe that they're more resilient than we give them credit for. And, you know, Kate, me being one, for example. And I think that with the inequity problems in the city of Atlanta, that if we push more resources to those small resident businesses, that we can change the income inequality. We have a lot of money that's coming in from bonds, T-splosses or whatnot. There should be again, more of an effort, because there is some now, but there should be even more of an effort to make sure that some of these contracts are going to these small resident businesses that are in the community, that are minority renters, and we need to be a little bit more specific about what minority is or whatnot. That's why I like to use the term resident. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to incentivize and also prioritize those residential people to give them the opportunity that the truth of the matter is we know we haven't given them. We know we haven't given them fair and affordable housing. We know we haven't given them the best particular education because we've went through scandals. You know what I'm saying? We know we haven't given them our best, though we're claiming to be an international beacon of a lot of the best practices and policies. So I just want to first and foremost make sure that we rise up to that particular bar that we're setting for ourselves. I know that we have the opportunities to do it. I do not feel empowered in the current position that I'm in, and I can only imagine if me, Shawn Walton, does not feel empowered in the current position that I am. I can only guess how my neighbor feels, who's a convicted felon. You know what I'm saying? Or my other neighbor who has you know 4 or 5 kids, or my other neighbor who's just a college student, who's rooming over here for the semester. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so many things that are changing that are affecting those people's lives, for them not to feel empowered, but them having the skill set and the brilliance and the resilience to make change. We need to empower those people, not to topple some mythical ass government that's trying to hold us down or whatever, but to make sure that we're standing up to the standards that we've set to ourselves as ASU Heights, the first planned African-American community in the city of Atlanta, West End, the first suburbs, the Atlanta University Center, the Black Mecca of education. Like, let's live up to that. You know what I'm saying? And I really think that, I have an opportunity to continue to promote the culture and to promote the education, because what has been happening in the city of Atlanta is that they've been following what we've been doing for years, but it moves so slowly because they aren't the drivers of this type of more innovative culture. They don't understand it. We have older city council members and politicians trying to tell us how to use technology to gain input.
Yeah.
We get most of our input or give most of our input where? On the internet.
On the internet.
You know what I'm saying? And so we just need to make sure that we're using, I want to make sure that we're using, social and more, even, and also still more grassroots ways to give people input, and making sure that we have like a maximum minimum of how much input that you have to have before you even let something go. But again, I just want to make sure that I'm not a politician, bro. If anything, if I could define myself, and I would say I'm a pioneer.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? A pioneer of different economic systems, a pioneer of new ways to engage youth and employ them, a pioneer on how to use youth and issues to engage the government. I think I'm a pioneer in those things, and I don't want to simply just be the pioneer that's creating the culture and having the policy lag 5 or 6 years when we're doing what we're doing now because the people needed the solutions yesterday.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I want to help speed that process up because there's nothing that we've been engaged in over the last 10 years that hasn't come to fruition as true. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, like we were talking about the Beltline, not, even while working with them, like, yo, y'all not doing the right thing as it relates to affordable housing. Now everybody's talking about how bad affordable housing is. And while we were just talking about it, we were also putting up homes and letting people stay in our space and making affordable housing for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So just like making sure that the problems that we foresee as pioneers or visionaries or innovators, that when we do that solid research on the market to then make sure that that is implemented a little bit sooner so that we don't, again, we're on a very high turnaround for displacement, and we have a very high capacity to bring more people into this city. And we just want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can, especially as the self-proclaimed, you know, jewel of the South, international best practice, full of Black excellence. Like, we have to make sure that we live up to that by not using the same type of archaic methods that we know puts people's lives in danger by pushing them further away from the type of amenities that sustain their lives. We have to create those newer systems, those newer cultures, those newer forms of accountability, those newer forms of bringing in input, and we have, and we need to lead in implementing it. And that's why I want to be, that's why I want to do it. Because, and I've been doing it for free.
Right.
And
we got to get you some support. Like I said, I personally, in fact, I'm gonna give, not pledge, give $100, and probably more. I'm gonna give more.
Yeah.
I'm starting off with 100, but I'm gonna give more.
Yeah, appreciate that.
You have my support.
Yes.
Actually, you mentioned something as far as Atlanta being the jewel of the South, and also too, from the outside looking in, when people think Atlanta, they think, like you said, Black wealth. Just wealthy Black people. It's a Black Mecca.
You got that.
But I remember when I first relocated to Georgia in 2000 to go to University of Georgia, I remember driving through downtown and seeing nothing but projects, poverty. And then I remember talking to people from Atlanta saying how, dangerous, or how they don't want to go to the city of Atlanta, even though they claim Atlanta. Now you experience gentrification as far as Black people being pushed or relocated to places like Clayton County, parts of DeKalb County. Mm-hmm. And now it's to the point where I guess the same Black people who were, afraid to come to Atlanta or relocated from Atlanta are now crying about gentrification in the city, and also now crying about the possibility of having a white mayor here in Atlanta for the first time in a while. And then the argument is, where there's so much crime in Atlanta, there are a lot of us, and I love our people, but there are some of us that don't do the right thing, who, when they get displaced, you're not going to hear me complaining about it. What could we have done differently back around, I guess, it started around the Olympics, to make sure that our people weren't displaced, but then also to make sure that people that, I guess, were not acting in the right type of way, or were contributing to some of the dysfunctional issues that, I guess, were going on here in the city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
What can we do to, I'm trying to think of the right word, get rid of that aspect or demographic of Black society, but make sure that people who are doing the right thing also don't get removed as well?
First and foremost, I wanted to say that the first thing that you said is that people who said that they were scared to be in Atlanta, move away from Atlanta, and now they talking about displacement. But the thing is, the people that still stay in Atlanta, mm-hmm. never left. You know what I'm saying? The ones that are being displaced aren't probably the ones that you're arguing with, who probably have degrees and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You probably don't went to college or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They probably went off to college.
Right.
Where they went off to. You know what I'm saying? And now they spent 4 years, and now Atlanta, or 8 years now, Atlanta ain't the same.
Right.
Because 8 years don't pass, and you was, getting all these degrees. You know what I'm saying? And praise God for that. Again, the culture. We have you know, people like you said that you won't necessarily miss, man. I think ultimately, again, what you've asked me, like, what could we have done differently? And I'm glad that you are at least thinking about what we could have done differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, again, that allows us to just acknowledge that we possibly didn't do everything correct. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's a powerful place to start. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and that's what I was saying. You know, we have to do things differently. We have to, again, we can't go back to the same archaic ways of dealing with not only our own people or people in poverty or people of low income. We have to be more. We have to be more creative, and we have all the amenities to do it. We have all the institutions to do it. We have all the colleges to do it. We have all the transit to do it. We have, you know what I'm saying? We have all the students to do it. We have all the youth to do it. We have everything that we need. I think that conversation, that opens that, you know, maybe, you know, we do this correctly. Coming from people, you know, self-reflecting on themselves or in groups reflecting on how they have just interacted with each other. You know what I'm saying? And then put our minds together and our hearts together and create a better solution, especially if that's truly our will. And I think more people than not at this particular point in time, I believe that that's their will, is to do something different. And I don't think certain people, we talk about allies and shit like that. We've seen allies over the past weekend sacrifice their lives. So, you know, and it took a white person who was killed,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for the Selma march to be as big as it was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so now we have more active allies, and we have to, again, we're right in that sweet spot of true acknowledgement that we did some stuff wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To begin, just like Martin and Malcolm and Medgar Evers and James Baldwin and Marcus Garvey, we're right in that sweet spot to really change the culture and also change the policies. And now that we've seen, and now that we're knowledgeable about a cycle that has happened, we know the type of safeguards and implementations that we need to put moving forward.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. And I think that involves conversations and honest conversations with everybody at the table, or at least great mediation and people that are dedicated to mediation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because all we really need to do is talk. If we sit at a table and talk about all of our assets and what it is that we bring to the table and what we can do at one moment, we can always solve anything. I believe. You know what I'm saying? I believe if me and you sit down right now and say, how are we going to make sure that there's no littering at the West End Park forever?
Mm-hmm.
I believe we can figure out that solution.
What about something like, in my honest opinion, I've been in the West End 3 years, and it's weird. I think there's a correlation between, because the home values are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
But I would say crime has kind of went up as well versus when I moved here 3 years ago, or it's being broadcasted more. What can we do to sit down with the brothers that are involved in certain activities that might not be productive or constructive? What can we do to get rid of that element in a fair and right way? What do you think?
First and foremost, a lot of times they're kids.
Uh-huh.
Right? And I feel like regardless of how you cut it, how you slice it, a kid at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 probably want to go to the movies, skate, play basketball, be engaged. They rather be fed. They rather be doing anything else and loved and cared for. They rather be doing that than the stupid shit.
Right.
And we simply do not make time.
Mm-hmm.
That's reality. And it's young black boys. Right? It ain't a lot of young black sisters out here doing that shit. You know, man, you seen the same, you seen the pack of young men that would walk through the streets. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Father, mentorless. I look out this window. I'm looking out the window right now. You know my setup in the hood. Like
right.
I'm looking at the park right now, and it be just full of black boys and black men sometimes with maybe a sprinkle of it, and the black men over there smoking weed and drinking. I have to tell them like, yo, not in front of the damn kids. Go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know, and so, but we don't, man. That's, you know, the preacher don't be out here. You know what I'm saying? Like the activists that we see on TV, they don't be out here.
Nope.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like or maybe they just don't be out here, and maybe they be somewhere else. So I'm not gonna try to play anybody or whatnot. Like, but at the same time, you know, it's culture, man. Culture costs so much less, and I think we're caught in a very selfish culture. Me and my family culture, or a selfish culture, you know. And I think once we change that, and that's why I'm glad that you support, and I'm glad that, you know, the idea of just being more in the community is picking up as a solution.
Right.
Because again, we did a lot of this without money, bro. We did a lot of this without money, but just being present. You know what I'm saying? I think with us being present is one of the most important things. So first and foremost, changing the culture and making people actively want to be outside in these particular areas with a certain knowledge of this is how we behave in this particular area or this community. Also, when it comes to security too, I want to create an intermediate community response team. And these are people that are social activists that deal with street patrolling and community engagement and safety. And I want to really make sure that, you know, them being in the streets is most effective by equipping them through city funding with the type of mediation and de-escalation tools that they may need. But more importantly, the mediation, because there are situations that people on the street know about, beef here, beef that, or whatever, that could just be talked out. And the truth of the matter is, it be that type of she said, he did this type of stuff that sometimes escalates to gunshots. I've seen it myself. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not just talking about pitting ordinary people in danger of gunshots or whatever. That's why we're really focusing on the mediation part. Because I'm really outside of, you know, it's the violent crimes that I really cannot stand.
Right, me too.
I can't, like, I don't get that for nothing. Like, I don't like the gunshots. I don't like, a couple of days ago, I seen a sister get shot in the stomach over some altercation that could have been mediated or whatnot. So when it comes to crime and when it comes to our youth, first and foremost, again, I think that we just need to spend a little bit more time with them and change the culture in that way. That's gonna be and we can do that tomorrow. That's the beauty of what, you know, I'm proposing as you know, District 4 is to put a lot of money, or a decent amount of money, into a project that's dealing with ethical marketing for our district. You know, a District 4, and turning the 4 into a FOR. District 4, the culture. District 4, securing our homes. District 4, you know, innovation. District 4, these ideas that we know that we can not only put in practice and policy-wise, but also that we can immediately change the culture by promoting it of the type of quality of life that we want to see, that we know that we can create simply by walking outside and having conversations.
Right. Now you mentioned the violence.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, I think a lot of the time, adults are, I guess, instigating the violence, in my honest opinion, in the community. What can we do to stop these, I don't want to call it, these dusty adults.
Dusty adults.
I'm just saying, you're grown. Like, stop it. Like, you're a grown ass man.
And that's the thing.
You're
That's
stealing, you're robbing, you're killing. Like, what can we do as a community to stop that? I mean, as far as the kids, I understand there's a hope. You know, especially with just petty stuff. As far as, you know, you might steal something. Okay, whatever. But when we got grown adults contributing to this, what can we do to stop that?
I mean, education, training. Again, going back to that mediation. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's just, you know, it's relationships, bro. Tactic. You know, you can talk somebody out of dusty adultness, or at least for the moment, and, you know, get them to go back in the house with their dustiness. You know what I'm saying? But also, again,
you can walk outside and your main objective is to mess something up. Just stay inside.
Yeah, and again, I think we have good enough people around us to implement, you know, that type of mediation. And also, education. I think I'm going back to education. I think education was my first point. You know, we got to educate these kids. We got to educate their parents, man. They're adults. They look like adults, but they're 26, they're 27, they're 28, they're 29, they're 30. They not so far removed from the same type of displacement that went on in 1996. They're not so far removed from, you know, Detroit being, you know, completely and utterly, you know, impoverished due through, you know, the type of motor industry collapse. You know what I'm saying? They're from New York, where the gentrification had gotten even worse, and Harlem's changed forever. You know what I'm saying? So they're from places, again, that the resources haven't been necessarily pumped into. The education hasn't necessarily been pumped into. The disenfranchisement has not necessarily always been pumped into, or whatnot. And this is not to call them victims or to make them feel like victims or whatnot. Again, I want to bring you back to what can we do different. You know what I'm saying? They are just as much as in need of the type of services and support. You know, we got all this youth initiatives or whatever, but I've seen some kids with some, what you may, I wouldn't call them dusty parents, whatever, but I've seen some kids that I understood their personalities, first and foremost, in my own life, but also to seeing a home that was much like mine or the ones that I grew up around with or whatever. So I completely understand where a lot of people come from with their, you know, with their communities that still don't have the type of nutritious foods that they should have. They're surrounded by McDonald's, that are surrounded by liquor stores, that are surrounded by chips and hot Takis and Cheetos and stuff like that, and fail in school. So, like, again, what can we do different? We can educate different. We can make sure that somebody, I showed somebody, I'm gonna pull this up.
Go ahead.
I took a photo of, I was at this manifest forum by Dr. Obara Cartman out of Chicago, and he pulled up the statistics that the percentage of 8th grade Black boys in large American cities reading at a proficient level, right? Atlanta, 11%. Boston, 10%. Detroit, 3%.
Wow.
Philadelphia, 5%. Austin, I think that may be 4%. You know what I'm saying? And so, come on, man. You've been in school. When a Negro can't read, he act out.
Right. Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. True.
I mean, I really wanted to stop there. I think it's cool to stop there. Is it cool to stop there?
It's cool to stop there.
Yeah, it's just like we know, bro. That's why we said not only in the academic research or the level of educations that we have, man, we know we've seen it in our lifetime of why You know what I'm saying? They probably still can't read and never had an affinity to read. You know what I'm saying? And still acting out because of it. Like,
Right.
don't get me started, bro. I mean, but doing things differently.
And the brother Prince Jalabar in the chat room said, he made a great point. Do you think part of the reason is because we promote toxic ghetto culture over intellectualism? Do you think that could be an issue?
Absolutely. Again, that's why we have to be active in changing the culture. You know what I'm saying? The people on this side of progress, the people on the side of advancing our people, we have just as much creative juice. We have just as much social media capacity. We have just as much YouTube presence. We are present in our communities. We have all of those particular opportunities and whatnot. And again, we have to be the ones to change the culture. We have to insinuate the culture, whatever. As much as these rap people be on the TV or whatnot, these kids are still at the park.
Right.
You know, we have an opportunity to interact with them and play our music. You know what I'm saying? Show our art, teach what we have or whatnot. But the question is, are we out there?
Mm-hmm. And then Melissa said, you know, something like picking up a skill as far as like drywalling, painting, construction, getting your IT certificates as far as in the tech field. She said that would be a great idea as far as implementing that, as far as, you know, when it comes to education, having a skill.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's basic life skills. I have a sister that's in our community. Her name is Abby, and she has worked with youth, create a hot sauce that the kids are not selling. You know,
Wow.
You've been in the West End or whatever, you might get ran up by a kid with some incense. You know what I'm saying? It's trying to sell you some incense. You know, we've taught kids how to wrench on bikes, and that's like the beginning of engineering. You know what I'm saying? And so it's so important to make sure that kids are educated first and foremost on how to sustain their lives. We teach agriculture. You know what I'm saying? And so that teaching a skill, I don't believe that kids should leave high school without a skill. I think that should be a requirement. Not a degree, not a career path, but a career path and a skill. Why is it that, you know, what Chicago put into legislation to where kids can't get their degree unless they got a acceptance?
Acceptance letter to college, or was it
a plan or something?
Like a plan or
college or the military or job training or something like that. Like, oh, man, they took home ec, they took shop and all that out of the schools. You know what I'm saying? You got to go to a very special or rural or high class school to even get that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we shouldn't be putting our kids out into the world technically for the first time where they ain't got to go to no more school. Like their training is basically done. We shouldn't put kids out there in a situation as volatile as this, as it relates to economic justice and inequalities, without a particular skill that they can make a living off of. I think that should be woven into the educational system just as much as these restrictions on plans, just as much as these damn testings, just as much as No Child Left Behind, like just as much as these educational reforms, just as much as pushing these charter schools. Basic like skills before you leave high school. Yeah.
See, the conversation we're having now, Shawn, that's why you're a pioneer, not a politician. You don't hear politicians talking about stuff like this. You never do.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not shit that we talk about. You're
doing. I'm sorry.
You know, we doing this, and that's why I'm not running on a platform. I'm running on a foundation, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing that I just jump off at the mouth and hope that it lands. No, I'm already standing on what it is that I want to bring to people quicker. You know what I'm saying? Put more research and assets to it, because if Atlanta's not trying to actively and vigorously solve its income inequality problem, then every every other subject to me is dull and no. And you have to do that from the educational place. You have to do that from the small business place. You have to do that in different ways on to even create housing, right? Because a lot of the affordable housing situations are because there's only people trying to make huge and large developments, and nobody's trying to build small. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's trying to do that. And so like, oh, we put all these nice things inside of these fancy apartments or whatever, and we have to make the rent high.
Right.
When, first of all, you ain't got to have that many units.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You can build you a nice little quadplex, nice little duplex. We got West End is probably the best as it relates to affordable housing and having those type of structures that support affordable housing. Quadplexes, really big homes with that are really like 2 or 3 homes in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the model of affordable housing that we should be looking at, and not having these big ass we do more historic preservation or whatever or more zoning to limit the level or whatnot, and give these smaller developers, these smaller resident developers, a chance to change the income inequality through making sure that they have access to opportunities and building their communities. I don't think we see enough of that. And I think we've, over the last 10 years, seen the exact opposite of that. Mm-hmm. 4th Ward in East Atlanta, just about, and it's starting to happen over here in West End, where we have an opportunity to do things differently while making sure that people's property values are still cool. But more than anything, they have a peace of mind and a security in their community, that it's safe, that it's communicative, that it's responsive, and that it's always solution oriented, but also celebrative as it relates to making sure that we feel as confident and bought into the ideas that we're promoting and that we're actively doing every single day, man. So yeah, man, I'm not a politician. Mm-hmm. I've never ran a campaign before. You know what I'm saying? All I know is that I've been engaged. All I know is that I want better. All I know is that I've taken the time to get the experience that from the city level, at the city level, to know exactly what it is that I'm doing, and stayed in the community to know how to do it and what I'm doing it for.
So since you're a pioneer, you know, and I see this in a lot of the Black community, the idea that we only have 2 parties and you have to vote Democratic. Are you going to run on one of the 2 parties? Are you going to run on a Democratic platform or Republican, or are you just
independent, man? I want to say I'm an independent, man. I don't. Okay. I mean, I thought about this the other day. As it relates to Republicans, like, I don't like a lot of government. I don't.
Right.
I like regulations. You know what I'm saying? But I don't like a lot of governing. I don't like a lot of bureaucracy. I think things should, again, be done a little bit. I think a lot of thought and effort should be put into regulations. Mm-hmm. But then I think the process as it relates to getting things done should be a lot quicker than what it is. We have too much technology. We're too close knit. Yeah, man, I just kind of.
Do we have a name for the independent party, or are we just independent right now?
We just independent, man. You know, I've been working on a project called The Way. Mm-hmm. I've been really bent on making sure that we do things a different way and we have access to different things. I mean, I don't want to call it something. If it ends up getting a name, you know, praise God. If it's a moment in time or a bleep in history, praise God. You know, I don't know what it's gonna be called, but I know we're called to make it happen. So let's make it happen.
I just want to tell Black people, like, look, there's more than, I mean, you don't have to vote Democrat or Republican, because I mean, this last election,
they gotta go.
Yeah,
I mean, the truth of the matter is, like, the truth of the matter is, you know, they probably ain't gonna go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But there needs to be a third or equal or just a change because they failed us.
Right.
And that's just the bottom line of a lot of institutions. I was talking to my friend yesterday. He was like, "I hate school." I was like, yeah, "What you really are saying that is that you hate most American institutions because they failed you, and school is one of them, or they failed a lot of people." And the Democratic Party has failed us. The Republican Party has failed us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to say us because there's black and white people on both sides or whatever. But what they have again failed is the idea of what America is supposed to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think again, us assuring, bolstering our culture, whether it be American, whether it be African, whether it be Caribbean, whether it be Hispanic, like whatever the culture is, just exuberating it to a more healthier place. I think that's our first and foremost best shot at moving a lot of things forward, man.
Okay. So Shawn, where can people get in contact with you? Where can they donate or contribute towards your campaign? Because like I said, you got $100 from me. You got 100. You'll get more. But so where can people contribute? And also too, if you want to, you know, tell people about your bikes. I know you got the bamboo bikes. I mean, go ahead.
There's a chat box. Where's the chat? Okay. I see. Okay. Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. At this current time, I'm actively working on our website. Dying us to tell you that I'm someone that's constantly in the community, and I just had to make sure that we got all our things together to make sure that we're in this race. And so we're now working on our website. You're going to be able to find that shortly. That's why I made sure I give you guys my Facebook and my Instagram information. On Facebook, you can find me at Shawn Walton, ShawnWalton, and it's a page. All right, so make sure that y'all follow Shawn Walton on that. You can follow me on Instagram as well, at Shawn Deangelo. That's ShawnDeangelo. You can find me there, and yeah, you can also Google me. Google me. I've been blessed to have different, local grassroots people come and do interviews, and some, CNN come and do interviews or whatever. So if you're really interested in some of the work that I've been doing, just Google Shawn Walton or Google Shawn Deangelo Walton, and get abreast, man. Really serious about change, to the point where, we in the streets daily. Really serious about, living and letting live, respecting life, growth, healing, and now in politics, because again, it's about who gets what. And I think we're due a lot, and I'm not talking about just handouts or stuff like that or whatever, but really the rod, the real, and the opportunity to truly fish when we've been denied a pole, sitting at a lake that can, really replenish an entire earth through morality and through culture. So yeah, follow me, Google me, hit me up. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, Shawn. Thank you for getting up early this morning and coming on. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Love you, bro, man. Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all donate to the campaign. Coming up soon. We're going to be calling y'all up tomorrow from 5 to 9, making sure that we qualify. And yeah, let's get it, man. This is our time.
Where do I need to drop my should I just go on WeCycle and donate that way, or should I?
No. I send you a link.
Okay, send me a link. Hey, send me a link now. In fact,
I'm putting it in the chat.
I can put it in the chat, or I can put it in the and I also can put it in the description box as far as. Okay, there we go. Hey, okay. Let's see here. Let me copy this right here. Okay, copy. Over here.
Let me make sure that's it first. Let me see. Yeah,
Is
that's
it PayPal.me / the do-gooder?
and the do-gooder. Don't join me, but yeah.
Yeah, the do-gooder. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we there.
All right.
So, okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make my donation now. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Peace.
Much
I
love.
love you.
All right, y'all. We're out.
Yeah.